you have to disengage the ratchet.
But you don't have to put the brake on to do that. You just lifted it. I just saw you.
You don't.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So is the ratchet disengaged when you finished weaving for the day, or no?
Yes, you should disengage the ratchet
Okay.
at the end of the day. You should not have high tension on your warp overnight when you're not working.
Okay.
Because it'll stretch the warp. But I'm just gonna move. We're winding on to the warp beam, and now when you depress the brake treadle, it disengages the brake.
One more time, you could tell me what the brake is doing?
The brake is keeping the warp beam from rotating.
Right, okay.
Now, if your tension is very loose and you're ready to weave and you want to tighten the warp, you do not have to disengage the brake. All you have to do is engage the ratchet and then move your warp forward, and that gives you a tension that you want. If you want to advance the warp, you disengage the brake, and then with the ratchet, you move your warp forward.
Now wait a minute, don't we have to disengage over here?
It should be, yes.
It's
at all times that should be
okay.
Just
so advance, disengage,
warp beam handle.
Beam handle. Okay. And
I'm advancing the warp by disengaging the brake, engaging the ratchet, and then moving the warp forward, and until the apron bar is totally wound on, you might have to manually move the apron bar to the left to keep it out of the way of the ratchet. And once you have got your warp advanced to the point where, close to the point where you want it, you then need to retension the warp. And you do that by taking your foot off of the brake pedal, which will engage the brake, and then you use your ratchet to further tighten the warp.
Huh. Okay.
so then after you're done advancing, then you bring the tension back on.
Then you bring the tension
And
back
tension, you're gonna bring your tension on from the front.
Yes.
From the front of the loom.
Yeah, you never have to go back to the back of the loom. After you're wound on and you're tied on in the front, theoretically,
This is so good.
theoretically, you don't have to go back there. You will go back there.
Oh, now, Chris.
No, there's always something that needs to be done back there.
Tying a thread.
Tying a broken warp thread, or putting
a weight
in your cardboard, your corrugated cardboard, that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, to disengage the ratchet so that you don't have tension on the warp overnight, engage the lower part of the ratchet, move it forward a little bit, flip that up, and then if you hold on to this like that, that will go like that, and then you're
just as free.
It's gonna flip just a little bit, but it would keep it from really flipping.
And you were saying back here with the warp handle, it should always be going clockwise, and I was doing it.
When you were winding on, you would never go counterclockwise with the handle, ever.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we can make all these mistakes and not ruin our looms.
Yeah, but also it gave us the questions. I don't think you know the questions until you've messed
start
with it.
working with, yeah, sure.
You're sort of in position for the next question I had, which was because this is the center of the harnesses, and this was the center of the loom of the whatever this is, reed. When it says to make sure your reed is centered, what is it you're aiming for on this loom?
On this loom, I don't think your reed is ever going to be totally centered because of this this offset here. So so you can move. This is loose enough. That, you want this a little bit tighter. Once you've decided where the reed is going to be, you want this to be a little bit tighter so that the reed doesn't move freely.
Honestly, what I think I did when I was doing the measuring was, this is in this place, and the center of the reed was there, so I sort of fudged it, and because I didn't know what to do.
Because the center, this is your center right here. So the center of your warp should be there approximately. So
I got off center, and that happened probably because this was loose.
And with something this narrow, we can mess with it.
yeah.
When we get to my,
How wide are those? How wide are they?
I think they're 20, are they 20 something? And I have 26 inches that's the max. I think they're almost the max, Chris. And that's going to be a bear. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. My thought is this is off the subject of what we're doing. So, but my thought with that is that I may actually lose some, what's the extra warp that we talk about? I might just do one less tea towel and do only like 2 at a time, so I don't have this immense amount of warp on there, and just do less.
You can do that, and then if you wanted to, if that went quickly and you wanted to do some more tea towels, you could always tie onto your warp.
That's right. You said we could do that instead of redoing.
Oh, I'm not understanding that, but
you can tie onto the existing instead of completely rewarping your loom. It's on this side, I think, right? It's on this side of the reed, so knots aren't going through the reed. But I would be interested in that.
Knots do go through the reed.
Oh, knots do go?
Yeah. And you have to sort of manually work those knots through.
Well, this sounds like
That's
it's good to have the information, but
this is not part
you're
of
ever
today.
going to. No, I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, I think we're going to really need to be instructed on it, because that sounds a little complicated.
Better to plan your project ahead. So decide if from the get go whether you want to do just 2 towels or whether you want to do 6 towels, and
so you need to make the decision now before you
wind.
So you do need to understand then how much it will save you to do it that way, to split it into to do the tie-on versus.
It really doesn't make sense to tie on. If you finish 2 towels and then you want to do 2 more, that's a lot of wasted time tying all those knots.
Okay.
But it can be done. But,
my fear, the reason I was thinking that way, and it's probably illogical, but the reason I was thinking that way was because then maybe I would have less chance of, I'm working with such fine thread for that whole project, that maybe I would have less broken threads. When we were just now talking about having to fix broken threads. I'm thinking, oh man,
Have you seen her thread for her towels?
Yes.
yeah,
I have.
Okay.
it's
And
real
It,
fun.
And
very-
it is-
but it's pretty tough. I remember it being very tough.
Okay.
The one time when you would tie on a practical use for tying on, let's say you finish this warp, this project, you want to do the same pattern, but you want a different color. You want a different color warp. Then you could, but you want to use the same pattern. Then you would just tie on a different.
Yeah,
warp.
you're not changing your treadles. You're just
Right.
changing the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But for what I think you need to decide, and I think it would be actually practical to just do
Half
two,
of 'em, or
yeah,
two,
or
two
two,
of them
two
to start with.
Yeah, I think you're going to get very tired of doing those. I would do two, do another
then
project and come back,
back. Okay,
later.
it's a thought.
But if you are committed to doing 4, what was your concern about with the warp? I didn't really understand that when you were.
Well, I was just thinking that the warp for 8, it makes 8. The warp for 8 tea towels is going to go on and on and on and on and on.
Huh.
And it is using not just this many heddles, but it is using 200 additional heddles.
Which
That
you've
we have
ordered,
to-
right? You've
I've
ordered. You
got
have
them.
them.
But I mean, it's maxing. I mean, each one of those harnesses are going to be, it's going to be elbow to elbow heddles, I think.
You've got two threads per dent in the reed.
And then we have to do two threads per dent.
Yeah.
So that the opportunity for disasters is pretty.
For challenges.
That's it. That's the one.
I would recommend, before you start the tea towel project, to come up with another short project like this. Do another small project beginning to end with 2 threads per dent, so you get used to that process.
Okie dokie.
So, in terms of centering it, was the conclusion
Yes.
just to try to center the reed, get to the center of the reed, which is that I think what you were doing.
Yes, which means that
That it has to be tighter to not be moving.
it
around.
means that the reed is going to be moved over this way.
So we're centering on this
Oh,
little
we
puppy.
are. Okay.
Yeah,
We're
you're-
centering on that little puppy instead of on the center of the.
Or we're actually
instead of
centering the
here.
2 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So wherever the center is here is going to be moved.
The center of the reed should line up with the center here,
Okay.
but the center of the warp should line up with your dot there.
Because it's going to be centered with this. This.
Well, this is going to have to be changed. The center of this is going to have to be changed to match that, correct?
Well, it's just moving the reed,
If we're
though.
moving the reed. Are you making that bolt, that screw, whatever, this is a bolt, I guess. Are you making the bolt our new center of the earth?
No, I'm using this as the center.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that should line up with.
Okay.
That, which is what it was originally, right?
Oh yeah. So this was our original mark, right?
That's. I'm not sure anymore
It
because I
says
thought we were
mid.
talking about this thing.
You made
No,
some good
that-
notes here. You said mid, what does that say? Mid,
This is the mid reed, and this is
mid heddle.
which I think that was that because that's the middle of the heddles.
Yeah, that's so confusing because of that stupid screw bolt thing.
Yeah, being off center like that. It doesn't really affect anything unless you go all the way out to the very end of the reed.
If you're weaving a 26-inch project.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
and mine's close enough, I think.
Yeah, but you need to be specific. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that your question is very pertinent.
But we've actually complicated it more because I was just thinking of center of the reed and this, what I called it the center, but then this is the center.
That is the actual center.
This is
the actual
this is the center of the
This
heddles.
is the man-made center. This is the actual center.
Well, except the heddles split over here.
Yeah, we did. We had to split them. So this is the center of our work because we have half of the petals on each side.
But didn't we on your project, we had more heddles filled on one side than we did on the other?
We thought about it, but then in the end, you said just put. I think we just put half on each.
Yeah, we just did. That's right.
Now I'm not.
So,
I had half when I put the heddles on the loom. They are halved by this. Now, what you're talking about is, did we make a difference in the way that we warped the loom? And I'm trying to remember, because we talked about it both ways, and I'm trying to remember what you decided, because you gave it some thought. It's confusing.
I think it only matters if you go all the way out to the end. If you go all the way out to the end, you're going to have more heddles on this side than you are on this side.
Mm-hmm.
But it's rare that you're going to go all the way out to the end.
And if we have the same number of heddles on each side of this little doodad, I'm going to give him a name pretty soon, Charlie. But if we have that, then we would center the reed on that. So that
if you have the same amount on each side,
Mhm,
yes,
then we would
that's right.
center the
Yes.
reed on that.
Yeah.
So we will have to figure that out when we're
doing larger things like the thing you're starting with,
yes,
right?
yes,
After your next practice piece.
yes. And I
Alright.
think we've asked you this before, but it's still not. I think because there are so many variables and so many questions about it, it still is not. I don't have it in my. It's not processed.
About where?
Because every time we think about it, then I'm asking the same questions.
All right.
Okay, what are we doing?
Let's from now on make this the center the reed on that, and center the warp on that. So you have three things centered. So your
We're
warp.
lined up everything
Yeah, lined
with
up.
Charlie.
Charlie's got his soldiers all lined up.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, if we're
And the only time you're going to have to rethink that from now on, as if you do a project that goes all the way up.
and chances are that we wouldn't be doing a huge number of projects. Well, the other option we've got is to go to the studio for something if we're going crazy.
If you want to do something really wide.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
Not me.
Next. You don't like that loom over there?
Oh,
I love
do.
the loom. I'm just, I just have to keep it simple. I can't wait to do more.
Well,
I want to do something wider than this,
Yeah.
something more like a placemat or, that size. And
it was like a foot wide, I think, maybe, wasn't it? Was it a foot wide?
It was wider than that. Your placemat to me?
Oh. Is that
do you have
wider
yours
than
with
a
you?
foot?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at you. Yeah, it was the same width.
Yeah.
Is that wider than a foot?
I think it was it was wider in the reed than a foot. After it's washed, it probably shrinks
Well, I
down.
haven't washed mine.
Okay.
So mine's the original.
Yeah, I haven't washed mine either.
We haven't done what we were
Now, this
supposed
is
to
really
do.
an aside, but so at this point, should I just take out the filler and make some fringe there like hers? I mean, it's not like I treasure these or I'm going to do anything with them. in
You
particular.
zigzagged them all, right? Did you
Yes,
zigzag them
yeah,
all?
it's zigzagged here.
Even though it's hard to see, it's right at the edge.
Oh, that's something you did?
It's right
Yeah.
here, isn't it? It's
No,
right.
it's here.
Oh,
It's against your green.
Oh, I
It's up
see
against-
Like on a
that.
sewing machine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah,
He's such a good.
really.
So I would do what Cindy has done
Just a
here
short
because
fringe.
then you can turn them
Flip
upside
them.
down. You can flip
Okay.
them.
Now I started out with a longer one
Mm-hmm.
and gradually shortened it because I was afraid that I wasn't getting it even. So I started out with about an inch, thought it was too
I like
long
it
for a
shorter.
placemat,
I like it that way.
and started shortening it down.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm doing placemats right now, and
Oh.
I'm doing a half inch. I'm doing a half inch,
which is
fringe.
about maybe a little longer.
So you did
than
this. You did the zigzagging on both of these.
on all of them. Yeah,
Oh.
everybody's.
Isn't that
Oh,
amazing?
yeah, golly.
They're so good.
You both have sewing machines?
I do.
I don't, but Anna Mae said I can use the one over there, and
Yeah.
she'll show me how to use it.
Well, you can use mine too.
Thank you.
No extra charge.
All right. Next question.
Those were my two biggies. I don't.
Okay. Did you figure out the ending? You were talking about ending one.